On June 25, 2009, the singer Michael Jackson passed away at the age of 51 at the Neverland Ranch, located in the Santa Ynez Valley in Santa Barbara County, California. This place was a haven for the King of Pop during his lifetime. After his death, the global media spared no ink in debating, investigating, and deciphering the mysterious circumstances surrounding his sudden demise. Hundreds of theories were put forth. Hypothesis 1. Michael Jackson's death was a result of an overdose of medication. In his later years, Jackson was consistently dependent on medications, including the painkiller Demerol, a drug similar to morphine. He had been prescribed this medication by his personal physician not long before suffering from heart failure. Brian Oxman, Jackson's lawyer, stated to CNN that in the final months leading up to his death, Michael Jackson had been consuming a significant quantity of prescribed medications in preparation for his upcoming tour. In addition, in 1984, Michael Jackson publicly disclosed for the first time that he had used pain medication for severe burns sustained during the filming of a commercial for the Pepsi company. Hypothesis 2. Michael Jackson suffered from a serious illness. The King of Pop had to battle against skin and bone cancer. According to Fox News, he was diagnosed with chronic lupus. This illness destroyed cells within his body and caused inflammation in vital organs. In his final years, Jackson had to contend with skin cancer. Hypothesis 3. Consequences of multiple plastic surgeries. From the mid-1990s, Jackson had to contend with the side effects of multiple cosmetic surgeries. His body became extremely fragile, and his nose, altered through multiple surgeries, also made breathing difficult for him. Despite this, he ate very little. In the end, the King of Pop, who stood at 1.75 meters tall, weighed only 58 kilograms. These hypotheses could be among the factors influencing Jackson's health. But no one dares to assert that these are the causes leading to his death, not even the police. Is there a possibility that some force deliberately harmed him for their own interests? To shed light on this event, we need to revisit significant milestones in Michael Jackson's life. Michael Jackson rose to become one of the most beloved pop artists in the world at the age of 22 and was voted as one of the most famous people on the planet. The pinnacle of his career truly emerged with the release of the Thriller album in 1981, which became one of the best-selling albums of all time. On March 25, 1983, Michael Jackson marked another peak in his career when he unveiled the iconic moonwalk dance move during the television special titled Motown 25, Yesterday, Today, Forever. While at the peak of his career in 1993, Michael Jackson faced allegations of sexually abusing children. The accusations were brought by Evan Chandler on behalf of his 13-year-old son, Jordan. This trial incurred costs of up to $22 million, and subsequently, the judge determined Jackson to be acquitted. However, due to the legal tensions and public condemnation for an extended period, Jackson eventually became dependent on stimulants. To demonstrate his innocence to the public regarding the 1993 scandal, by 2003, Jackson invited a renowned BBC journalist, Martin Bashir, to his Neverland Ranch for the purpose of creating a documentary about his life. Jackson had a great deal of trust in Bashir because Bashir had previously interviewed Princess Diana, who was a close friend of Jackson. He hoped that through this documentary, fans worldwide would gain a better understanding of him, his personal life, and help restore his reputation after the 1993 scandal. This was also the first time people got to see the extravagant life of Jackson, akin to that of a king, at Neverland. But what Jackson did not anticipate was that this documentary not only failed to bring him cleanliness and public support, but also became one of the factors leading to his death. More accurately, Neverland is a private amusement park. Originally, it was a ranch, and by 1981, it had been invested in and developed into an amusement park. Michael Jackson purchased this estate in 1988. The reason he bought it was because he had a memorable trip here and filmed romantic music video scenes. The owner of the estate demanded $32 million for Jackson to acquire it, a sky-high price. After negotiations, they finally settled at $19.5 million. However, it was still an astronomical amount in 1988, equivalent to the cost of purchasing one of the most modern aircraft carriers at that time. Jackson named it Neverland, a name inspired by a beloved animated film from his childhood, Peter Pan. According to it, Neverland is the land of children who never grow up. That name also reflects a part of Jackson's personality. He deeply loved children, and undoubtedly, his own childhood went through many challenges. Afterward, he began renovating Neverland, transforming it into an amusement park. This was also one of his childhood dreams come true. He was born into a family with a tradition in the arts, specifically in music. He was the 8th child in the Jackson family. Michael began his professional music career at the age of 11 as the youngest member of the Jackson 5. He started his solo career in 1971 while still a member of the group. Although the youngest in the music group, Michael Jackson early on displayed the qualities of a star, showcasing superior dance skills compared to the other members. 10 years later, at the age of 21, he released his first solo album titled Off the Wall. Since then, he became one of the greatest stars in the world of music. To achieve that success, he sacrificed his entire childhood, focusing solely on practice and training. Because his father, John Jackson, was very strict with the members of the Jackson 5 during their training, he recounted that his father would often use a whip to threaten, and even physically strike them to make them practice more diligently. The reason Michael Jackson's father was so strict was that the Jackson family, over many generations, had achieved significant success in the music industry. Therefore, Michael's father aimed to maintain and uphold that illustrious tradition. His childhood was filled with endless rehearsals, and he did not get to enjoy playtime like other ordinary children. He felt he had missed out a lot in his childhood. Therefore, after achieving the success and fame that the whole world dreams of, Jackson wanted to compensate for his lost childhood. He recalled his own childhood, with just a small dream, to have the chance to enjoy carefree playtime at an amusement park, a place where he wouldn't have to endure his father's lashes, without rehearsals or endless concert tours. After purchasing Neverland, he acquired his own kingdom, a kingdom for children who never grow up. At Neverland, Jackson built playgrounds, an amusement park, a water park, a movie theater, and a zoo. It was described as an America from decades past, a place where a fortunate child could grow up. The annual operating cost of Neverland reached $10 million, with 150 employees. The only thing Jackson asked of his staff was to always wear a smile when welcoming visitors. This park was not built for commercial purposes, and it was not open to the public. Instead, it always welcomed individuals facing difficulties to visit and experience it, especially children who were impoverished or ill, many of whom were battling cancer. These children came from all over the world and were introduced to Jackson by various charitable organizations. All the visitors invited by Jackson were able to experience all the services in Neverland completely free and in the most comfortable way possible. Furthermore, he even had 2 isolation rooms specifically built for cancer patients who had undergone chemotherapy, so the children could watch movies. He knew that they had weakened immune systems. Neverland was the realization of his childhood dream, so every year, Jackson spent a lot of time there. Since its construction, Neverland was never without the sound of laughter. It can be said that it was a true paradise. However, in 1993, a real nightmare came to Jackson, completely changing his life. The 1993 lawsuit severely damaged Jackson's reputation, and thereafter he endured a series of mentally agonizing days, because he was truly innocent. In this lawsuit, the plaintiff was Evan Chandler, who accused Jackson of abusing his son, named Jordan Chandler. Evan Chandler was an unknown dentist, struggling with debts. He did not take care of his wife and son. All responsibilities were handled by Jordan's mother. In 1992, Jordan coincidentally met Jackson on the highway when his car broke down. Jackson assisted Jordan, and they became friends. Jordan's mother admired Jackson, so she often invited Michael to their home. After Evan Chandler found out that his son was becoming friends with Jackson, he exploited the child. Despite being a dentist, Evan Chandler had a strong interest in filmmaking. He began to exploit Jackson's close relationship with the family for his own interests. Once he wrote a screenplay for a film and enticed Jackson to support the funding. However, after reading the script, Jackson found it unfeasible and declined to participate. From this incident, Evan developed a strong hatred towards Jackson, believing that Jackson looked down on him. Consequently, he was determined to tarnish Jackson's reputation by any means possible. The first step was to get closer to his wife and son. Evan persuaded them to let his son stay with him for a week, and his wife agreed. However, after that, Evan did not return his son to his wife. Not long after, Jackson invited Jordan to fly with him to Monaco to attend the World Music Awards ceremony. After the concert, Jackson brought Jordan back to Evan Chandler's home, and they stayed in the same room that night. Chandler suspected that Jackson had behaved inappropriately with Jordan. Despite lacking evidence, in July 1993, Evan Chandler filed a lawsuit accusing Jackson of sexually abusing his son. Indeed, this garnered a lot of public attention. Chandler aimed to, through public opinion, cast doubt on Jackson's character and tarnish his reputation. Chandler demanded $22 million from Jackson to settle the case, but Jackson didn't agree. He felt like he was being blackmailed, so he refused. Furthermore, both Jordan and his mother rejected Chandler's allegations. However, Chandler did not give up. During the first week Jordan was at home, Evan examined and extracted one of Jordan's teeth. He injected his son with a large dose of the anesthetic drug sodium amytal. This is a powerful hallucinogenic anesthetic drug that can create false memories. The patient becomes sensitive and susceptible to suggestions from others. Of course, Evan Chandler manipulated his son to make him say what he instructed. He threatened his son not to speak out about everything, or he wouldn't let the two mothers live in peace. Jordan was forced to obey his father. After that, Chandler demanded that the police take another statement from his son. Based on Jordan's statement, the police began to search and thoroughly investigate Jackson's home. Unfortunately, they did not find the evidence they were looking for. Afterward, they coerced Michael into humiliating body searches. If Michael resisted, they threatened to charge him with obstructing justice. According to Michael's account, they forced him to allow them to take pictures of his entire body, including his penis, buttocks, torso, thighs, and any position they wanted. It was a horrifying nightmare for him. By 1994, after nearly a year, this case had not come to a conclusion. Under the pressure of public opinion, his reputation had significantly declined. His worldwide concert tours were canceled. Pepsi terminated the decade-long brand representation contract with him. Jackson lost over 10 kilograms due to this. A series of continuous shocks hit him, causing his spirits to crumble. The repercussions led to Jackson having to maintain his sleep each night with medication. After a series of crisis-ridden days, eventually, he accepted a settlement of $20 million. The case did not end with a trial. The two parties reached a confidential settlement, promising never to publicly discuss the matter again. The consequences of canceling the concerts and delaying the release of a new album were enormous. He couldn't afford to waste time and energy on these troubles anymore. The incident gradually subsided, and Jackson's reputation began to recover. In 1995, a new album was released, marking Jackson's comeback to the stage. However, it did not achieve as much success as he had hoped, and the reason was the lingering impact of the 1993 scandal. Returning to the reason behind Jackson's decline, an interview a few years later seemed poised to restore his honor and reputation, but instead, it pushed Jackson into a deep abyss. In 2003, Jackson brought Martin Bashir to Neverland, along with a renowned BBC production team, for an interview and to capture daily footage of his life at Neverland. On the first night after the tour and playing various games in the amusement park, Bashir began to interview Jackson. Bashir's first question was, "How do you compose a hit song?" Jackson said, "When I write a song, first, I tell myself that I'm writing the greatest song in the world. Then I'll drive alone on the road, looking at the neon lights and the crowd passing by. From there, I get a great rhythm and a great song is born." Next, Bashir said to Jackson, "Teach him a dance move." In the recording studio, Jackson taught Bashir an impromptu dance move. Bashir asked, "What do you think about while dancing?" Jackson replied, "I don't think about anything. I feel the music, immerse myself in different instruments, and imagine myself embodying those instruments." Bashir continued, "Why do you draw inspiration from Peter Pan's Neverland?" Jackson replied, "For me, Peter Pan is like a representation of the true essence deep inside me, a representation of childhood, a representation of my never growing up dream." It can be seen that the initial questions posed by Bashir are very mundane. He does not rush and is adept at grasping the psychology. But gradually, Bashir begins to shift the focus, arousing Jackson's pain. He asks, "As a child, did you experience the strict discipline of your father?" After hearing the question, Jackson just smiled awkwardly and remained silent. Bashir continued guiding Jackson step by step, trying to evoke memories of discontentment with his father. Jackson shared, "My father would whip me if I sang off key or made the wrong moves." Bashir then asked, "How many times did he beat you?" At this point, Jackson choked up, tears welling in his eyes, and he continued to remain silent. Bashir continued to ask, "Did your father use anything else to hit you?" Jackson said. "Anything he could find around." After spending some time at Neverland, Bashir gradually gained Jackson's trust. Jackson also opened up to Bashir. During the time at Neverland, Bashir also met two young boys, one of whom was Gavin Arvizo, a 13-year-old boy diagnosed with cancer. The reason Gavin was at Neverland is that one of his last wishes at that time was to meet his idol, Michael Jackson, once in his life. A non-profit organization in Los Angeles, upon learning about this, contacted Jackson. Subsequently, Gavin was invited to Neverland to live there for a while. In Bashir's interview with Jackson, Gavin was also present and interviewed. Gavin enthusiastically stated that Jackson was his best friend, mentioning that he often slept with Jackson. They shared stories and listened to music together. The reason Jackson invited Gavin to the interview was to demonstrate to Bashir that the relationship between him and the children was innocent, as it could be seen from Gavin's expressions. They were pure friends. But Bashir did not think so. This interview was, in fact, his purpose for coming to Neverland. What he truly sought was evidence against Jackson in the case of child sexual abuse. Bashir wants to delve deeper into it. He asks Jackson, "Do they sleep together?" Jackson says, "In the room there are other children, all sleeping on the floor and listening to music until they fall asleep." After the interview, Jackson thought the documentary could help the public understand him better, understand his relationship with children. However, unexpectedly, when Bashir edited the documentary, he focused only on Jackson's relationship with Gavin. 1/4 of the total duration of the entire documentary is dedicated to discussing the relationship between Gavin and Jackson. Moreover, he consistently cuts and edits footage, suggesting that Jackson and Gavin stay overnight in the same room. After the video was broadcast, the media once again buzzed with discussions about Jackson. From then on, there were up to 15 allegations against Jackson. He knew that Bashir intentionally distorted the truth, leading public opinion to condemn him. Faced with these allegations, he fought resolutely to reclaim justice for himself. He vowed not to compromise as he did in the 1993 case. Finally, after nearly 2 years and a series of complex investigations, in 2005, the court declared Michael Jackson innocent, dismissing all allegations against him. Jackson won the lawsuit. However, the impact of this documentary on his career was immense. It dealt a severe blow to Jackson's career. All of his advertising contracts worldwide were canceled. After being raided by the police at Neverland, he felt offended. "I don't feel like this is my home anymore," Jackson said. After that, he no longer lived at Neverland. Neverland was closed. Through the events described above, we can see the tremendous power of the media. Even a great figure like Michael Jackson, at the pinnacle of fame, the king of the music world, couldn't escape the power of the media. In the era of media, facing the benefits, even the truth can be distorted. Jackson won the lawsuit, but the media also won, because they had topics widely discussed, attracting millions of viewers worldwide. After that incident, 4 years later, in 2009, Jackson marked his comeback with a plan to organize 50 concerts worldwide. Jackson announced that this would be his final concert series. Tickets for the 50 concerts sold out within 1 day. Just as all the fans were anticipating Jackson's comeback to the stage after 4 years, shocking news emerged. 3 weeks before the concert, Michael Jackson died of a heart attack. The cause of Jackson's death is attributed to his personal doctor administering an overdose of prescription drugs, resulting in cardiac arrest. At that time, people only found out that during a Pepsi commercial shoot, Jackson unfortunately suffered severe burns and had to use various pain medications. Adding the two lawsuits in 1993 and 2003 placed him under tremendous psychological pressure. Every night, he had to inject various medications to sleep and became dependent on these prescription drugs. Along with that, the intense workout regimen for the tour drained Jackson's energy. Surely he must have realized that he couldn't carry out 50 concerts in that state of health. But he wanted to fight one more time. He wanted to prove his abilities to the world. He wanted to show that he was still the king of music. After Jackson's death, CNN clarified the case, and Martin Bashir admitted his wrongdoing. Also during that time, Jordan came forward to confess, stating that the 1993 incident was entirely untrue. Jordan said, "I never intended to destroy Michael's life. My own father forced me to lie. Now, I no longer have the opportunity to apologize, and I hope Michael can forgive me. He may be gone, but his reputation and influence have not diminished." The legacy he left behind includes valuable albums worth billions of dollars. According to Forbes magazine, 10 years after his death, The heirs have earned an amount equivalent to what Jackson had to work tirelessly for 40 years on stage and in recording studios, which is approximately $2 billion, a truly enormous figure. Michael Jackson will forever be an icon, a legend. Thank you for your interest and following. Please continue to support us. Xplor Discovery, goodbye, and see you again.